You have just been shrunk to the size of a grain of rice. Don't panic. Take a breath. Look around. You're standing at the entrance of something that, from this scale, looks like a city carved into the earth. The tunnel in front of you is wide enough for 20 of you to walk side by side. The walls are smooth, not rough dirt, but something closer to compressed clay, engineered over thousands of individual trips, carrying fragments of material and packing them against each wall until the humidity and temperature inside stays constant, regardless of what the weather is doing above ground. The architects who built this tunnel did it without blueprints, without language, without a single conversation. Walk forward. Within seconds, something passes you going in the opposite direction. It's moving fast, at your current scale. It would be like watching a freight train. It carries something 3 times its own body weight over its head without slowing down. It doesn't acknowledge you. It doesn't need to. It is doing the one thing its entire existence is structured around. The job that needs doing right now, based entirely on chemical signals it has been reading since it emerged from its pupal case. You are inside an ant colony, specifically, a leafcutter ant colony in the soil beneath a Costa Rican rainforest. And in the next 12 minutes, what you discover here is going to change how you think about intelligence, society, cooperation, and what it means to make a decision. Follow the worker in front of you. It descends, and you descend with it, into the first major chamber. The smell hits you before you can process what you're seeing. A dense, mushroomy, living smell that fills the entire space. This chamber is a farm, a real, functioning, underground farm. The worker deposits the piece of leaf it has been carrying onto the surface of a white, spongy mass that covers the entire floor, the walls, the ceiling. The mass is fungus, but not wild fungus, cultivated fungus, selectively bred over millions of years of coevolution to produce one thing, a protein-rich food that ants cannot live without, and that cannot reproduce without ants. This is not instinct in the way most people picture instinct, a simple, automatic behavior like a reflex. This is agriculture. This ant species developed agriculture approximately 50 million years before humans did. And the system they use is, in many ways, more sophisticated than ours. As you watch, a smaller ant, a different size, a different role, moves across the fungus garden and picks up a pathogen, a single spore of a foreign mold that, if left unchecked, could infect the entire food supply. The smaller ant carries the spore to a chamber you haven't seen yet, a waste processing area, a literal compost and quarantine zone, positioned in the farthest corner of the colony from the queen's chamber, downhill from the main living areas so that any chemical contamination flows away from the population, not toward it. The designers of this waste management system had no engineering degree. They weigh less than a paperclip. Keep moving. Go deeper. Past the nursery chambers, where eggs are arranged in size order, with the smallest eggs nearest the heating vents and the largest near the food supply. All moved constantly as temperature gradients shift through the day. Past the soldiers, who are so specialized that their heads are shaped specifically to serve as living doors. They can block tunnels with their armor-plated skulls, and the fit is so precise that the tunnels were built around their heads. Go all the way down, to the Queen's chamber. She is enormous compared to everything else you've seen, and she has been here longer than some human cities have existed. Leafcutter queens can live for 20 years. The colony around her, the tunnels, the farms, the waste chambers, the nurseries, can extend over 30 meters underground and house up to 8 million individuals. 8 million. The colony was founded when this queen, decades ago, took a single flight from her birth colony, carrying a small piece of fungus in a special pouch in her mouth. She landed, dug the first tunnel herself, planted the fungus, and waited for her first daughters to hatch. Everything you see around you originated from that single act. Now here's the question that has occupied biologists and philosophers and computer scientists and urban planners for over a century. Who is in charge of this? The answer is nobody. And nobody is the most important word in this entire video. The queen does not issue commands. She does not plan. She does not survey the colony and decide where workers are needed. She produces eggs. That is the entirety of her executive function. The workers you watched carrying leaves, tending fungus, removing pathogens, guarding tunnels, none of them received instructions. Not from the queen, not from a supervisor, not from any central authority. Each ant makes decisions based entirely on chemical signals, pheromones, produced by the ants immediately around it. If there are too many workers at the leaf-cutting site and not enough in the fungus garden, the chemical balance shifts and workers self-redistribute. If a tunnel collapses, the ants nearest the collapse repair it without being told, because a blocked tunnel changes the airflow, which changes the pheromone concentrations, which triggers repair behavior in the individuals already present. The colony is not controlled by a brain. The colony is a brain. This is called swarm intelligence, and it is, without exaggeration, one of the most studied phenomena in modern science. Because if you can understand how 8 million individuals with no verbal language, no hierarchy, no planning meetings, and no individual intelligence higher than a very simple machine manage to build and maintain one of the most complex societies on Earth, you might unlock the secret to managing complexity in systems that humans have been failing at for centuries. Traffic systems that don't jam, supply chains that self-optimize, computer networks that route around damage, disease surveillance systems that detect outbreaks before any individual can see them. The internet itself was partly modeled on ant colony communication principles. And yet there is something the engineers who study ants always find humbling. Every human attempt to copy ant organization hits a wall, because the thing that makes it work, the thing that makes 8 million individuals coordinate without hierarchy, is not something you can design top-down. The colony is emergent. The organization arises from the behavior of individuals following simple rules, and the result is a complexity that no individual and no designer could have planned. The colony is smarter than the smartest ant. Just as a city is smarter than the smartest citizen. Just as a language is smarter than any speaker. Just as a market is smarter than any economist. The intelligence is in the system, not in any piece of it. Now come back up through the tunnels. Move past the workers and the soldiers and the fungus farmers. Past the nurses and the engineers. Come back to the surface. Stand at the entrance again, where you started. You are looking at something that has been running continuously, without interruption, for 50 million years. It survived ice ages, continental shifts, mass extinction events that killed 3/4 of all species on Earth. No government has survived that long. No religion, no language, no economic system. The ants didn't just figure out how to build a society. They built one that works, and we, with all our books and laws and technology, are still, honestly, taking notes.